Yo, good evening, Lumenswap family. Good evening, Jack. Good evening, Glow. How are you both?
I'm great. I just got back from Los Angeles, had a crypto networking event I went to. It was pretty fun. What about you, Jack?
I've been busy, just like everyone here. Yeah, we need to do more of those networking events, those more of those real life events. That's for sure.
Yeah, it definitely helps build communities. I definitely want to see Stellar community come and do one really soon. I think that would be awesome to get all of us together.
It's the key.
It's kind of
How did it go? How did it go? Tell us more about that, Glow, because I'm interested.
Yeah, one of my friends, he has a YouTube channel, Zen Lounge. He went ahead and did a pop-up event. He set it up a couple of months ago before a lot of the events that are going on that's kind of preventing traveling started, but they still had a pretty decent turnout. It was a fun event. I got to meet a lot of cool people there.
Wicked. Brilliant. And it was just literally connect different networks and just chatting and kind of brainstorming and that kind of thing.
Pretty much everybody went to LA. We had a little warehouse reserved. They had a couple vendors there. They had a full bar. Everybody just kind of sucked because everybody was a little shy at first, but by the time it was over, everybody was talking, everybody was engaging. So then we ended up having an after event at a little bar next door, but it was a good time.
Sweet. Sounds pretty good. So anyway, enough talking about us, right? Because we're always here. We're the hosts. We can talk. We have Luminator Jack with us in the house. And it is absolutely fantastic. I think we've talked before, but I think this might be. Is this your first appearance on the Lumenswap Show?
It is, other than the comment section. I don't think I've missed a show yet, but this is the first time on screen.
How does that even happen? I was like, guest. Why? And I was thinking that for some reason we had you on in the early days, but clearly not. So we've saved, like they say about cream, rising to the top, saving the best till the end. Not quite the end of the Lumenswap shows, but certainly having you on after 20 or 30 shows now. I don't even know how many we've done. So we've done that many. But it's great to have you with us, Jack. To introduce you best is probably to say, I think you're the most passionate, committed Stellar Maxi that I've ever met. I think, you bring value in terms of intellectual debate, conversation, ideas to every project that you come into. I know you've taken on the education role at Nuna and you do a shit ton of stuff with JPEG and Lumenswap and Drift, and you help out pretty much everyone that the projects that you like, you're there and you're floating around in the comments. I know you're also, a couple of things I want to touch on is you are a passionate grower, fermenter, you're a wine expert. Tell us a little bit about all of the foodie and winey things just while I set up the banner today, please.
Sure. That's really my career before I got into crypto was hospitality. Started out as a chef. I figured that as a chef, I should probably learn a little bit about wine, and then I really got sucked into that. So I've had my SOM certification for over 20 years now. I was lucky enough to work at a restaurant here in Tampa, Florida, that has the largest private wine collection in the world. So I've got to taste through some things that I have no business ever trying. First gross from the 1800s, Grand Cru Burgundy all over the place. So it really helped develop my palate. As far as growing, that's a huge thing that I love to do. I'm a big gardener. I know, Ben, you're a big gardener as well, organic. My dad had a big farm or garden, but it's just actually fed us growing up. And I think that's what got me into culinary. It's also one of the reasons I love Stellar. It's green. We were sending some tweets out today about that, about comparing, the carbon footprint to some other big chains. And I just don't understand why that's not a bigger issue in the crypto sphere with everybody being so concerned about the environment, but they turn a blind eye when it comes to cryptocurrency. And I mean, you're talking about serious carbon impact per every transaction on some of these other chains. And it's sort of hypocritical to me, and I'm a little bit upset that we don't get more attention for that, and that Stellar themselves doesn't focus on that a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. It seems that the tides are turning, though. It seems like more people are starting to get focused on going green and making sure that we're using the right blockchains that use proper energy. So I think it's gonna just be a matter of time. So I saw you had a new project you're working on. Tell us a little bit about the Mystery School.
Well, Mystery School is a little perk to this sacred geometry series I'm working on. I've always been fascinated by sacred geometry, whether it's the flower of life or platonic solids. To me, it's like the language of the universe, and it's really when you start looking into it, it's one of the greatest ways to have an actual connection with something beyond ourselves. Because when you see the design and the simplicity and the elegance behind it, it's truly inspiring. So mystery schools, throughout history, there's been different mystery schools where they teach occult knowledge or hidden knowledge about, the secrets of the universe. And I thought it'd be a fun place to get people together that have a similar vision for Stellar, where a lot of the influencers and artists and collectors and developers can get together and have some fun. First of all, a lot of that gamification is some things I learned here from Ben. It's important to engage people. So far, it's been really successful. We've got a treasure hunt going on right now where we're trying to, each location on the treasure map is a different Stellar project or influencer that I want to highlight and draw people's attention to. It seems to work pretty well. Unfortunately, there's a lot of really smart people in the mystery school, and they're solving these problems a lot quicker than we are on the extreme crew. I'll tell you that. They're the other day we had one that was several parts complex, and they knocked it out in like 17 minutes. I was like, well, Interstellar didn't get a lot of exposure on that one, but we're still. I think that they do still. But we've been to Action Token, Interstellar, Drift. Actually, right now we're participating in one of the locations. So you might see in the comments me drop some clues that some of the folks in the mystery school can use to win some LSP. That's actually going to be the prize today from my personal wallet. I feel like it's a good way to market. I figure you got to put your money where your mouth is if you're really committed behind supporting Stellar and seeing it grow. So it's been fun. It's been a lot of work. I've got a new piece getting ready to drop tonight, Sacred Geometry. 6 will be dropping, and I've got another one that I'm going to release on the NFT Trees platform that the JPEG DAO has. I'm going to mint that later today, and all the proceeds will go to the Madagascar trees. We've already planted quite a few acres. I didn't realize how deforested Madagascar was, and everyone knows that it's got some of the most unique biodiversity on the planet, and without the forest, it could disappear. So it's one of the aspects of Stellar that we talk privately sometimes about what we can do to get fresh blood into Stellar. Because you can be a Stellar maximalist, but you can't bury your head in the sand. You have to realize that there are some problems that we're facing, really some pretty critical problems, and we have to get fresh blood in. And I feel philanthropy is a great way to do that. It's a win-win. I try to always figure out win-win situations where everyone gets a little bit of a benefit. And I'm being involved with the DAO for so long, the JPEG DAO. It's definitely the thing I'm most proud to have seen launch. So hopefully that will generate maybe another acre or two for Madagascar.
Good work, Matt. I think that for me, it's totally and utterly ingrained into pretty much everything that I have done in crypto. To give back, to use crypto as a power of good. I remember listening to that twat Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan saying back in 2017 that are cryptos for drug dealers, North Koreans, and I'm quite sure you'd be saying Russians rather than North Koreans today. But like, you know, North Koreans, murderers and crooks. I'm like, take a look at the US dollar, dude. You know what I mean? It's been used for that kind of thing for however many decades. But he was saying this, and I kind of think, when you've got these idiots that are coming out with these kind of comments, you know, and saying, you know, that crypto and specifically Bitcoin is used for all of these type of things, you know, it's good to turn that around. And you doing the stuff in Madagascar for the trees. I remember looking at some stuff that was happening in India, and where they had, like, you know, these rainforests in India, and farming had stripped the rainforests, and basically it turned into desert because it wasn't pulling in any of the rainfall, and they couldn't even grow anything there. So everything you're doing in terms of replanting with JPEG, I'll take my hat off to you. I've done some stuff with Bullring where we were building houses for street families out in the Philippines, getting them off the street and trying to instill hope into people. Do you know what I mean? I think that's when hope has gone, you know, you're in a bad way. When you can give them a little home, and even though the homes we were building, they're only $1,500 homes, right? So they were, to us, what we would have in our, you know, as keen gardeners, as a shed. But these were homes to them, made of solid wood, and you know, then you could see them smiling, you know, the parents and the little kids and everything. And you think the hope's in store. I'm sure there's stuff you're working on as well, that we can continue to grow that focus where we start bringing more good with our crypto, you know, and you know, I'm well into anything at all that is trying to, you know, highlight that crypto is not for drug dealers and murderers and North Koreans. It's actually, you know, there's a lot of us in the space really focused on that. You know, you spoke about the carbon impact of a lot of the blockchains as well, keeping, you know, the carbon impact as low as you can, or carbon negative, and then obviously doing some really good stuff with the revenue that we can create. So you know, fair play to you, Jack, for doing all that sort of stuff. We're really thankful that you're doing it on Stellar Network as well. Next question is centered around Nuna. You're working on a blog post now. They are one of 4 projects that are going to be going on the DAO. And we'll talk a little bit about Lumenswap software, and we'll talk a little bit about, but you know, do you think from being the lead educator at Nuna, how do you see the DAO how is that going to benefit the project? Is it going to help the team now? How do you kind of see all of that unraveling over the next few weeks?
You know, it's going to be a learning process for everyone. Having had some experience trying to establish a DAO with JPEG, you see that a lot of times in the early stages it can be a little bit chaotic, in the sense that you have as you move to decentralization. I like to use this analogy of a cloud, an amorphous cloud that just takes time to coalesce into a community-run system that makes sense. And one of the problems that I've seen, you know, in early DAOs is just focus, because you'll have all these different ideas, and there can be all these great ideas, and that's really one of the things that's beautiful about DAOs. But it's also important to find some focus, so action can actually happen. And it's a challenge. It's a challenge, and I think it's one that will be fun to deal with. DAOs, to me, part of this whole Web3 decentralization, rather than these top-down run companies, we're going to have more community run. And again, this is just a way to help level the economic playing field. So I can't tell you how excited I am to see Lumenswap's interpretation of DAO. I can't wait to see the software. It's one of the things I'm most excited about on the whole roadmap. And I honestly didn't think it was going to happen in Q1. I thought it was going to be later on. So as far as how it will apply to Nuna, I would imagine it's just going to be, you know, how rewards are focused, how, you know, what projects and residents get funding. What would be more up to the community at that point. They just had a really cool, I don't know if you got to see on Discord, they had J. Luis Huerta had a real life exhibition in Mexico that they were able to fund. So those are the kinds of decisions that will be more community focused, and it'll probably be really great for Mune and Ellie to have some help, because it's a tight team. It's just a small team trying to do a lot of work, and I feel for them sometimes. They have big goals and big ambitions, and when we get more community focus behind it, hopefully it'll take a little bit pressure off them. They work hard. They're artists too. They're minting. They're trying to create art. They're trying to support artists. And maybe we'll see different areas of the world, different cultures get highlighted. There's so many options. DAOs are just like NFTs. It's so new that we are as a community of everyone who's involved in DAOs, we're really figuring it out. And I know Lumenswap, everything they do is top tier. We've been playing around on JPEG with another DAO software that I don't want to say, just say I'm looking forward to Lumenswap. So I can't wait to see. And Vlad and the team over there, they understand decentralization better than anyone I've ever come across. When everyone was talking about turrets, they were like, I don't know about turrets, and then now we see they were right. They were talking about that months ago. So a lot of times when people are critical of different aspects of Lumenswap, it's just because they might not understand really how ahead of the game the folks there are. I mean, they've been devs on old school devs on Ethereum. I have a lot of respect for them. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think that Lumenswap just keep pounding away, don't they? Like you keep looking at their tools, and then when I was talking to Vlad and we were talking about the NFT marketplace being made public, and he loves Stellar, but he's really, like you say, he's against centralized products. He'll say a lobster's crap, because, and I'm like, well, lobster's used by all the new people. Yeah, but it's crap because it's centralized. You close code and this kind of thing. You have to have an email address, and so we've got to have open source, decentralized. And he's just like, he doesn't sway from that at all. That's how the whole team build and operate. So I think everything has to be kind of transparent and open, and they build some amazing. I think it's such a shame in some ways that they're not on a different network, because I think if they were on a different network, and we'll come on to this as well, the network are going to be going, everyone, come on, like Lumenswap, look at what these dudes are doing. And the network would be really raising them up because of the tools that they're building. Because the tools they're building are beneficial for the whole network. They're not just, oh, let's feather our own nest. The way that Vlad and the team work is, what problems has Stellar got? Let's all build the solutions to the whole network's problems, not just our problem, but the whole network. So I think in some ways, I think it's going to happen. There will be a tipping point where people go, okay, like Lumenswap's ripping it up here. We've got to kind of, give them some credit. But, and in other ways, I think, it'd be nice just to see the kind of publicity another network would give them if they had set up and done all this over there. So, yeah, it's one of them things. I think that just a shame that, they're not at the minute getting the publicity. Talking about Lumenswap and Vlad, I've just had a message come through. Vlad says if we get enough comments if we get enough people commenting in the thread here on the side, we're going to be able to give away a Lucy tonight.
Let's go.
Lucy number 41. So if you start putting some positive things towards Vlad in the comments, I'll take a picture and send it to him, and then we can get Lucy 41 into someone's hands tonight as well. So that's a really cool thing. So he is. Christopher's just put here, he sounds like an interesting dude. Believe me, he knows his he knows his mind. Yeah, he knows his mind, and he will stick to that. So we're really proud that he's heading up everything at Lumenswap, because he's certainly a really cool dude. Moving on. Save my rambling. Let's talk about how do we go about bringing more attention to Stellar from our level? How do we, as commentators and educators, how do we find that combination, or that missing digit on the combination lock, Jack?
Man, I tell you, that's something I think about every day. And we've touched on one aspect, I think, already: philanthropy. I think that's a midterm, long-term goal. That it won't be overnight success, but it will reach some no coiners, and it has the potential to get some publicity. Another thing, we have to think about reducing friction points. It's really hard to get on-ramp fiat, and it's very intimidating to teach that to people. So education is key. But how do we educate people that are off the network? We're busy educating people on the network. So it's a big question. One of the things that I am most hopeful for is the Stellar Women movement. I feel like we've got 50% of the population, arguably the best half of the population, and they're not involved in crypto. And why is that? I don't know. But I feel like Stellar is a warm and welcoming place. It's less masculine, it's less hype, it's less when Lambo. It's more, let's help people in other countries, let's support the artists, and people like Reach Rockin' and Bottoms Up, NOLA. They've been great voices and great representatives, and we've done a good job as a community welcoming them, and I think we're already starting to see that pay off. So that, to me, is our best strategy right now. So even if we could tap into a fraction of that and make Stellar a place that women is their entry point into crypto, and celebrate them, and then that probably our best strategy right now. Another great one is the NFT space. A lot of NFT artists are concerned about the environmental impacts of minting and the chains they're on. I was at a, like what Glow was doing, going to these real life things. So I went to a big art festival here in Tampa, and it was awesome. It was great to actually meet and connect with these artists. And there's a few that I thought, man, they would make great NFT artists. And I approached them, and you know what? Not a single one of them really knew about NFTs. And I'm not going to lie, in that community, they don't have a good rap. And it's not because of Stellar, it's because of the other chains where there's scams, and you have these marketing teams with giant roadmaps and, pixelated this and generative that. It's not really that desirable for a lot of these folks to introduce themselves to NFTs. So I think Stellar is differentiating itself through integrity. All of us here, that's a big aspect of how we work. And I think that's one of the reasons we're on this chain. So I would love to reach out to more artists that have a good following off in the real world, gallery artists, and try to sell them on why NFTs have amazing power. It's an amazing new tool. You can add games, you can attach your physical pieces. As soon as you mint, you have a worldwide audience. Your little gallery in New York, that's great, but once you mint, your gallery is the world, so you can get great exposure, and the more quality art we see on the chain, the more collectors we might bring in. And collectors typically have decent disposable income. If they're buying $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 pieces of art, there's a chance they might then look at Lumenswap or look at the cool features of Drift Exchange or Interstellar or some of these other projects and say, wow, NFTs are pretty cool. Look at all these opportunities we have to redefine what art is and how we interact with art. So that's what one of the things I'm hopeful for.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
I was just going to say, I definitely agree. We definitely need to reach out to artists, because I talked to his artist. He's a tattoo artist in Tulsa about a week or two ago. He was just learning about NFTs. He wanted to learn more, but he's not really technical. He's more on the creative side. All he does is draw all day. He knocks out these amazing graffiti faces. But he's also really protective of his art, which is understandably so. And he just was overwhelmed trying to get on OpenSea, having to worry about gas fees, having to make a roadmap and all of this stuff. And when I'm explaining to him how simple Stellar is, and it sounds like this artist is going to come to Stellar Network, he's going to start putting out some sick pieces. So I'm excited to see his work.
Scout him on Drift.
You have to scout him. Yeah, I'll get him over to Drift for sure.
Yeah, I just, people like yourselves, and there's this guy that I know, right? He went to school with my wife, and I only know him from like the playground. My daughter was at primary school, and we just used to talk. But I've never, I've looked at like Dablo's artwork, which is just out of this world, and I looked at a lot. But in terms of tattooing, I've never seen anything like what this guy does. He is like, blows my. It's like stands out at you off people's body. It's the most crazy stuff I've ever seen, and I'm thinking how I best package. How this guy is like 3 and 4 months booking ahead to get in with him. He's that popular. But how I piece it together to bring these kind of people onto Stellar. I know obviously how things work, but I'm thinking like, okay, how do we kind of help them step into it? Because like you say, Jack, then people need to see his work, and this having the world as your kind of audience is an incredible thing, isn't it? Rather than, like you say, just having a small gallery where you've got some footfall in a city. You've got like people from all over. How do you think working with Nuna and developing nations, the artists from these nations and helping those gets exposure? How do you think like the Stellar NFT space is geared for, let's just say Nola invited me to this Nigerian, I think it was they'd been scammed or something on OpenSea, and there was a Twitter Spaces. So she kind of invited me over there, and they were talking about things about OpenSea. How do we reach out into maybe non-crypto communities in developing nations and start getting, like, whether it's my wife's mate or whoever, starting to step into it? I mean, that offline thing do you have any ideas up your sleeve how we can?
Sure. We're actually at JPEG doing that right now. So one of the member drops this month was from a Nigerian artist, and it's really a cool piece. And what we were able to pay them up front, I think, is substantial in their neck of the woods. So that will spread. One of my favorite sayings is to begin. And if it's just with one artist, 2 artists, 3 artists, you're making a difference. Tori over at Leaf, she's working with us on the philanthropy committee. We were able to get some phones into hands of folks in Africa, and now we just need to teach them how to use them and how to upload art and maybe how to play around with some of these different tools available, Procreate, all these different editing software. So there's a learning curve, but a lot of these philanthropy projects I think, are more based around teaching people how to fish rather than just throwing fish at them. And that's what I think, because then once they learn, they can be the disciples that go out and say, hey, this is how you do it. And look, it's only on Stellar. No, don't, not Ethereum, Stellar. It's free. And we're willing to help fund those wallets and establish those wallets on some of these programs. I know Nuna would certainly be interested in doing these similar programs, but you know, you have to start small, and then you grow. Another problem with philanthropy is finding people willing to take crypto. It's not always easy. You'd be surprised how hard it is to give away cryptocurrency sometimes. But when you're dealing with individuals, it's different, and you don't have to deal with a giant organization. You can start in communities, and hopefully that spreads organically. All of us here are always talking about organic growth, and when you have these real world use cases come to play and real world success stories starting to happen, I think it will spread. Hopefully we can get some publicity from the media as well to help spread these messages. But 'cause we can't do it alone. You know, the three of us here, John, you know, all the folks that work really hard, sometimes we're in an echo chamber just telling each other the same things we keep telling each other. So how do we reach out more? I think philanthropy is a great way to do it. So we'll see.
I think we can also, I mean, I was out in Sri Lanka doing some charity work some years ago, and I was talking to the guy who was out there, because I'm very much I will raise money, but I'm not giving you, the charity, the money. I'm taking the money to the place, right? And then I'll go into the hardware store and buy whatever's needed, or the supermarket, and buy it and take it to the village, because I don't trust people, right? As sad as that is, I don't trust these charitable concerns, and that they're driving in BMWs with Armani suits and latest phones. And I'm thinking, who the hell is paying for all that stuff? So anyway, cut a long story short, I was in Sri Lanka, and we went into this little village in the middle of the forest, and there'd been a mudslide, and basically this mudslide had just wiped out 3 parts of this village, and this one dude had like lost, I think, 7 members of his family. Like, you know, it's just horrific. And then we were kind of just working in this village, but then we went to another village, and they'd had really heavy monsoons, and that's what had caused the mudslide in the one village. And this was like, the water was, you know, about maybe 3 foot high up on the wall, so everything was trashed in the house, and there were only 1-story little shacks. And I started thinking, I was talking to the charity guy and saying, how do we sort this out from a micro environment, right? You know, we're talking about helping or teaching people to fish there. You know, how do we create these little micro economies in these villages that can then educate internally within the village, and then they can start being self-sufficient, and then they can start doing some trading with other villages and help these developing nations to climb out of this economic shithole that they're in. And, you know, I'm thinking that these NFTs and art can actually be part of that jigsaw puzzle. Because I think when you get creatives, and I mean, most of these people have got smartphones, right? They've got smartphones or a tablet or something like that, as broke as they are. And they are very creative in what they do in entrepreneurial senses. They set up businesses, whether it's mangoes or fuel at the side of the road or whatever. They're entrepreneurial minded, so that's a great start. They're creative in terms of carvings and mats and all sorts of different things that they can create. So they've got the creativity, and I'm thinking if they could get, you know, Wi-Fi or that into these places stable, you know, these, and that's something that can be sourced. I mean, that's something that can be sorted out relatively simply. These, with this ability, can then start climbing out, can then start building these microeconomies, and they can start climbing out of where they are. Of course, that's not going to happen instantaneously overnight, but I'm thinking that NFTs and art in general can be a way for these people to help themselves and so that they can fish themselves.
Exactly. And then, maybe they make some XLM from an NFT and they can go over to Lumenswap and get some rewards or take part in some microloans when we get some lending up and running. So that's the type of circular economy I feel like Stellar is going to present real world solutions to some of these problems. In addition to not just that, hopefully we can break the stranglehold of traditional central banks that really they like it how it is now. They don't, they might talk a good game, but if you look at history, they are responsible for a lot of these issues that we see in those countries. So as decentralization and Web3 and some of these lending protocols start coming into place on Stellar, we're going to have a lot of the elements needed to affect real change in those communities and hopefully make a real impact in the world. When I got involved in crypto in 2017, I didn't realize the potential it had to really make a difference. I thought, oh, wow, Bitcoin's going up. It's $1,000 and now it's $20,000. Oh, I'm going to get in on this, buy at all-time highs, So, but as I learned more, I realized, oh my gosh, a lot of these issues that have really been bothering me throughout my entire adult life, we can actually, with a little bit of work and a little bit of messaging, maybe make some changes that our children can be proud of.
Yeah, really, I mean, absolute solid words there. I think leaving the world in a better place than we found it was something that my dad used to say to me. Whatever you do, try and leave the world in a better place. He's the kind of guy who'll climb a mountain and collect, in his rucksack, he'll have a load of litter in it because he doesn't want the litter to be in that kind of landscape and that kind of thing. So he's a really cool guy. And he's taught me a lot of good, philosophy over the years, not necessarily directly either, but just, bits like you've just said there, pure diamond nuggets where let's try and do what we can to elevate people, on a whole. And I know we've had, obviously, I think all networks have challenges because you get your moon boys and your fudders and your negative Nigels and Debbie Downers, don't you? As much as you get the ones trying to really forge ahead and create something decent. But you're right that crypto can really be a force for good, and because it's so tightly connected to the financial world. I mean, you think about it, if instead of it being a profit based with the central banks, instead their profits went into doing good. I mean, imagine we would be in utopia now, wouldn't we? Where we're all living a blissful life. But instead, it's about greed and all that kind of stuff. And I don't think we're ever going to escape that. Like there's black and there's white, or there's night and there's day. But we have people like us that are constantly trying to find ways to do more good. I want to talk to you now about a contentious point. But before I do that, guys, we have got the green light. We are going to be doing Lucy number 41 as a giveaway. So I want to do this 1,000 LSP first. And then we'll do the giveaway for that, and then we'll change the wording up, and then we'll come on to a contentious point of mine in 1 second. So,
Lucy.
Yeah, Lucy 41 is going to be coming, and let's just get this.
I don't think Jack's going to give that one up, though.
No.
Yeah, I'm not giving up my Pharaoh either.
Oh, that Pharaoh's so cool.
The Pharaoh is amazing.
All of them are so sick and so unique in their own ways. And also, Bull Runner just put out those knit Lucies, so make sure you have in your Twitter header that .lsp so you can be eligible to win one of those Lucy knits.
35 entries for We Love Jack. This is going to get you 1,000 LSP, guys. Here we go. Let's see who wins this. Someone new. Come on. Oh, RB Crypto.
The luckiest man I know.
Oh.
I love it, though. He deserves it.
RD Crypto, well done. Hit me up afterwards on Twitter and give me your address and I'll send you 1,000 LSP out. I'm going to take this banner out for a second and we'll put a new one in a moment for the Lucy number 41. Okay, contentious point. Contentious point is, why do you think everyone here in the comments and us and pretty much anyone I speak to, I don't know actually anyone that has ever said to me, Lumenswap is not the best project in terms of build on Stellar, right? No one's ever said that. So why do you think there is almost an intentional swerving of the Lumenswap conversation by powerful people in the Stellar hierarchy? What is going on there?
So I've been, I've been on this Lumenswap ride from the beginning, and I think a lot of it stems from two things. First of all, that ridiculous Jed article that came out, I think that really chapped some people. I don't think we had anything to do with it. But you'll still see people bring it up. And it's obviously that was not from the team. We've proven it over and over again. You can't go back in time and have someone that speaks a different language change what they did. It's easy to see. They're probably doing some research and like, oh, the CEO of Stellar is this and CEO of, they just mixed it up. And we did everything we could to correct that, but I don't know why people still hold on to that. The other thing is anonymity, and anonymity, I have no problem with it as long as the code and the results are quality. And 8 months now we've been up and running, ticking off roadmap features, bringing in stuff that wasn't even on the roadmap, great products. It's legitimate. And anonymity is a big deal in this space. We're talking about decentralization. We're talking about Web3. Just look at what happened to the Uniswap guy. He had his funds frozen, let alone what other issues. There's a lot of people in different parts of the world that could endanger your safety. So I have no problem with anonymity as long as there's transparency. You don't need to know a person's name. You just have to look at what they do. So those are two issues that when I try to reach out to people that might be a little hesitant, I see a lot. And I think there was another article in Korea that came out recently that wasn't completely accurate. And if you've ever dealt with the media, especially in foreign countries where there's language barriers, there's going to be issues like that. It happens to everyone, everywhere. So I feel like we've done what we can, everything we can do to correct those mistakes that weren't our mistakes to start with. But, some people are stubborn. I don't see how Stellar can continue to, I don't want to say ignore us, but like you say, swerve around the issue. I don't see how much longer it can last without them, I don't want to say looking bad, but it's sort of like if you're an influencer and you're reporting on news in Stellar and you're not talking about Lumenswap, you are a bad reporter. You are not a good reporter. You have to be talking about it because it's like you say all the time. It's the shining example of what a project should be. Tokenomics, stable rewards. They're the only ones who got the LP provisions right initially. Folks like Drift and ISX and Nuna are working in the right direction as well. But liquidity pool provision it's scary. I'm only in 3 pools. I've learned my lesson. I'm only in 3 pools. I would be in a 4th one. I'm not in LSP USDC. I should be, but they got it right. every month I don't have to worry about being out of a reward zone or some whale manipulating. It's fair. Everything they've done is not just it's an example that we should follow. You know, it's not just the code, it's the tokenomics. It's genius. And it's bound to happen. It's bound to happen.
Yeah, I think that, you know, you're right. Noel has asked here as well, the article. It's like a really old article, Noel. You have to kind of, it's not something we have on like, you know, copy and paste and send out because it's full of flawed information. But essentially what it said was Jed, who is the main man at Stellar, the founder of Stellar and co-founder of XRP, he is Lumenswap's CEO, which is clearly wrong. And what they've done is, and I can tell you exactly what's happened. I did an article for, I can't think who it was. Last year I did it. Who?
Was it Newsweek?
I'm not sure it was Newsweek. I did a couple. I can't remember which one it was. But anyway, basically this woman, she had a conversation with me. And she recorded the conversation and then took the recording, put it into text format, and then edited like the text format to make it into almost an article. So she wasn't really having to do kind of any work. And it was really clunky and it wasn't well put out because it was like me using, you know, kind of a bit slang language and a lot of the other stuff. And that was kind of put across. And then she sent it to me to edit. And I'm like, I'm the worst person with grammar ever. Why would you send it? But she sent it to me and I had to kind of edit some parts of it. But then still it went back to her and then she published it and it wasn't what I'd edited. So cut a long story short, she published something that I hadn't sent back to her, but she had kind of taken from me in a conversation and there was points in it. It wasn't critical, but there was points in it where I was like, well, I didn't say that. You know, you can't put that on me because I didn't say that. And it was like, it was made as if it was obviously you know, a live interview that she had done with me. And I thought, well, I haven't. So I totally get how they could get that Jed Vlad, you know, mistake. But look at the fallout. I mean, I'm in agreement with you, by the way. I think that article, I know that when I was speaking to Sam last year, Sam Connor, that was the one of the main topics of conversation. Who's Vlad? And this article that's been going around. So it's like, we don't have any control. If someone wants to write an article about Lumenswap and push it out there onto the internet, we can only email them and say, please remove it or edit it. That's all we can do. You know, we don't have any other control. What do you want us to do about that? But it was just a shame that it wasn't, oh, wow, the lottery and the launch pad and the lending client and the bridges that you're bringing and, you know, all of the stuff that you're doing is super amazing. And we're really, really, you know, thoroughly enthused by Lumen. There wasn't that conversation. And I'm like, well, but then there's excitement about stuff that I think is like pretty nah, you know, on Stellar. I think why isn't there when we know when all of the tools are built by Lumenswap, how impactful they're going to be for everyone. And we keep saying about the high tide rise in all ships. You know, why there isn't, why it just to me, that's the one thing I suppose that I find very, very difficult to kind of digest. That, and I think I'm right in saying any other network that I've been involved in, there hasn't been one occasion where their flagship project, such as CZ and Binance and PancakeSwap, for example, he's always was talking about PancakeSwap in 2021. You know, that was a big thing for them. PancakeSwap's their, you know, their amazing, you know, DEX on Binance Smart Chain. It was always a topic of conversation, never a topic of conversation for us. And it doesn't matter whether it's, you know, Trader Joe on Avalanche or whether it's QuickSwap over on Polygon, you know, when they launched. There's support from the networks for these projects. And I just think it would be really, really nice that whatever crap, whether it's an article or whether it's the fact that Vlad's on or whatever, I would think it would be really nice now for them to go, okay, let's wipe the slate clean. And let's harness the power of Lumenswap devs for the greater good of the Stellar network. Let's get behind them. Let's help them out in any way that we can. Because I tell you, I think if they did that, and maybe they chucked a bit of funding behind it as well, I think we could almost double the amount of people on this network in a very short space of time.
Yeah, I agree. I think Stellar definitely needs to support their powerful projects. And going back to the anon factor, you look at Satoshi Nakamoto in Bitcoin. He's anonymous. That's never been an issue. But it seems that they're scared of that anonymity. But if he was to go live, that puts a target on his back as well. So you got to look at it from both sides. I think that there's definitely gonna have to stand behind their product, because you see in the interview that Danelle did, she skipped right past Lumenswap. Like she said, "Oh yeah, Lumenswap is great," and then she went right to the next question. It's
kind of a double-edged sword. So I don't want to, this is an argument I've been saying for too long, and it's starting to wear thin a little bit even on me. Is it trying to be regulatory compliant and etc.? I can see them trying to keep conflict of interest at bay, but I've been supporting Stellar on social media for a pretty long time. A lot of us here have. John has. RD Crypto has. Bottoms Up, Reach Rockin'. Have they ever retweeted a single thing we've done? Have they ever? What is that hard? Is that a conflict of interest to say, hey, you're right, that artist is awesome? Or hey, wow, that is an interesting point you have there. So they need to engage the community more. And there's a fine line between, conflict of interest and just turning a blind eye. And as I'm seeing some discussions happen on some good platforms. Stellar Global, there's a really robust discussion right now about what they need to do, because we're at a critical juncture. Like Ben has had some voice notes recently that on the Lumenswap Telegram that I just wish they could listen to. Are we going to be cross-border payment solely, or are we going to look at AMMs? And if we are going to look at AMMs, 0.3% transaction fee does not outweigh the tremendous risks involved with liquidity pools and impermanent loss. Maybe use some of those billions that you're getting ready to deploy to reward liquidity. If that single thing happened, overnight, we would see TVL quadruple. I could almost guarantee it. If they started to say, okay, even if it was just USDC XLM that they rewarded, or even if it was, XLM, YXLM, but why not also Lumenswap? Think of everything Lumenswap has done. Do you think all these exchanges that they've shelled out their hard-earned, and I say hard-earned because they built the code, they came up with the tokenomics, they put the ads on New York, Times Square. Maybe they do deserve some help, because they've been, Lumenswap's been helping big time. And there's not a lot of XLM products on these centralized exchanges. And maybe there's a reason for it. Maybe there's no motivation for these people to expose Stellar, to shell out those big bucks. So I'd like to see a little bit more support myself. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, you're obviously it's good that you bring that up. Like we're like preaching to the converted, aren't they? I think with our community that listens into this show, I think everyone knows that Lumenswap is a really great project that's trying to do a lot of stuff, and it does need some backing. I think with the smart contracts coming, I agree with you. I don't know what the messaging is. I've said for a long time, what's the messaging coming from the top? Are we a cross-border payment network, or are we now looking at smart contracts and trying to do the same stuff as Avalanche, Polygon, Terra Money, where we have projects that are building out tools? And if that is the case, if it is the case, I don't know it's the case, it's only smart contract conversation at this point. But if it is the case, then I would say, well, if we're doing that, then surely some attention has to go from external partnerships, MoneyGram, and this new trading partnership that they've recently done, and all this kind of external stuff. And there has to be then some internal focus, or some people brought into the team that have the internal focus that can say, we are all about the project support from the network side. And I think that when they do that, and not, because we've got to be careful as well in some of the videos that they've had on YouTube, etc. They talk about inclusivity. You can't start talking about being inclusive if you can't include your potential best project on the network, right? If you're not including them at the table of conversation, then I think that, it's very difficult to use the word. I think it's very difficult because it becomes slightly hypocritical. But then saying that, Lumenswap are not making it easy either, because I think Vlad and the team have been burnt a few times. They're not interested in coming forward and saying, listen to us, and keep banging the drum. That kind of falls in our lap because we're the ones that are the faces, right? They're the ones that are behind the scenes. And they have been burnt a few too many times with just being overlooked. I think that's what I think. And yeah, maybe we're at a point now where these conversations you say are happening on Stellar Global. Maybe we've helped to instigate the conversation. And if we have helped to instigate the conversation, even though it may not be attributed to us, I'm really delighted that we've had a small part to play in creating some energy around that, so that maybe it will filter uphill and that we will start to see project support for Stellar projects.
Everything in crypto, we tend to everything happens so fast that sometimes we forget that you have to plant a seed and it takes a while to grow. There's no doubt in my mind that the Lumenswap community has planted a lot of seeds. And there's some encouraging things happening. The South by Southwest, they're sponsoring that. They've got a hackathon for the artists going on. So I'm starting to see some positive movement, and hopefully we see more, because it's not just about supporting the project that are crushing it with code, with quality white papers, and serious goals. It's also about what is there, 70,000+ assets on Stellar right now? What is there, maybe 25? Let's just be generous and say 50 are worth anything. And they sort of have a responsibility to point out what the good ones are and what the bad ones are. Because imagine if all those pennies and $100,000, $1,000 market cap here, 5,000 market cap on Dogelon, whatever. If all that money was focused for the benefit of Stellar, rather than just a few scammers trying to make a quick buck and trick folks, oh my gosh, it would be amazing. The market cap on Lumenswap would be quadruple right now if we were focusing. And they were, they don't have to get out there and be cheerleaders, but they can make some subtle hints here and there, or make acknowledgments here and there that might have an impact. Because a lot of folks are getting scammed, and it's on their network. I know it's an aspect of decentralization, is you can't control that. It's a double-edged sword, but there has to be some responsibility from them to highlight what is good, and by default that tells you what is bad. So I hope to see that. I hope to see more of that. One thing I just want to say, one thing too, I feel like metaverse / augmented reality could be good for Stellar too. I don't know how many, if you're familiar at all with Action Token at all. They're getting ready to roll out pretty cool stuff with AR and NFTs, where you can like actually hunt in the real world, like Pokemon style stuff. Those are types of things that can get people really excited. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, but I think they've got an app waiting approval for Apple. I mean, that would be big. That would be big to be able to, through geolocation, drop your NFT in your house where you want, and you can come back anytime, and your friends come over, and you get out your phone and say, look, there's my NFT hanging on the wall, or there's my floating right there in the middle of the kitchen is some cool animation. So those, something worth checking out. I'm kind of bullish on them right now.
Yeah, I think that that's exactly. We need innovation in all areas, but that innovation needs people and it needs funding. You know, if Action Token could have the goddamn best thing ever since sliced bread, if there's no funding there for marketing, if there's no people coming in and seeing it, it's absolutely bloody worthless. You know, and that's the junction where we are now. You know, we have the same people floating around in the pool that are going, literally, take my assets from here. Oh, this one's not doing so well. I'm going to come out of this one and I'm going to come into this. That project is so low market cap. It's only taken a few $1,000 and it's absolutely smashing the price. As soon as that price gets smashed, people are going, oh, it's a rug pull, it's a soft rug, this is dying, that's dropping, whatever. And then everyone else starts, the knock on the domino effect happens where everyone else starts pulling out their assets, which, you know, then exacerbates the problem even more. And then people move around to the next shiny thing in Stellar and the next shiny thing. And I call it the kangaroo mind, where they just hop around like this without leaving any kind of assets in anything. And without, you know, you can have, and I'm fully agreeing, by the way, that, yeah, and you're allowed to say whatever you want on this show. The Action Token and all the stuff that's going on at the moment, I think it can all be amazing. I really do think it can be game changing. But we need, like you spoke about at the start, we need the fresh blood, don't we? We've got to get that right, where we bring the new, you know, the people in. Lumenswap, with the tools that they've got, the bridging they're talking about, and the anchors and all this sort of thing with the lending and everything that's going on this year can help. But still, I even think with Lumenswap, you can have the best tools in the world. If no one's coming in, it's like having a Ferrari parked in your garage and just going in yourself and looking at it every day. Ooh, look at my Ferrari, and not driving it, or, you know, being seen in it and feeling how great it is to drive it with the roof down, you know. No one apart from us who are already promoting it seem to be, and yeah, there's going to be people like Nola and people like that say people are coming on you, people are, but not in the volume. And that's to me the single biggest thing that we've got to try and address is the volume. We've got to increase the volume of people coming in. You've talked about philanthropy, we've talked about NFT marketplace, we've talked about the things that can help that. We do need top-down support. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things, you know, obviously we can't just wait for Stellar. We have to take some action ourselves. And all of us, I know I'm not accusing anyone here of not taking action, because everyone here works really, really, really hard. But one of the things that we can do is partner up, you know, strength in numbers, unity. And that's something that a trend I'm starting to see more and more, where you can combine forces, and then your marketing budget is a little bit bigger. And the other thing too, you know, when you're deploying marketing funds, you got to sell them. You know, that affects price. There's so many different subtle things that come into play, and we do need help. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think that you've hit on a very, very good point. I want to touch on there just for 2 minutes as well. Is, you know, this usage of funds for marketing, and then also I think, what is marketing? You know, when people come into threads, don't they, and they go, "Oh, your token's bleeding." When marketing? And then I immediately go back and say, what constitutes marketing to you? You know, what the hell do you want us to do from a project's perspective? We want us to do publications, done. Times Square, done. You know, going on to centralized exchanges, done. CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko, done. Speaking to crypto influencers to write posts for us, done. YouTube videos and accounts and regular shows, done. TikTok accounts, you know what I mean? It's not like we haven't been trying, but it's what works in crypto. If we look at the most popular projects in crypto, on a whole, they're meme coin shit things. You know, they're the ones that they get the hype and there's nothing really behind it, right? Most of when we look at crypto, most of the attention from outside comes, you know, go to the London Underground. It's got Floki, like big billboard. It must cost hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. Big billboards when you're going down the escalators, Floki all down the sides. And I'm like, that's a pile of shit, right? That's an absolute pile of junk. But we've had to sell the LSP to try these things. And that's what I mean. Like, you know, people say we want exchanges. Okay, there's 15 exchanges we're listed on. 15 exchanges. That hasn't done anything to the price. People go, when you get listed on an exchange, everyone's going to flock in. No one joins the community on the back of it. So I say to people, you tell me what 100% works in crypto for Lumenswap, I will get the funding for it. I will get it funded. If you tell me what 100% gets a return on investment. And yet to this day, after what are we now, 7-8 months I've been working with Lumenswap, not one person's come to the door and said this 100% works in crypto, because nothing's a given, is it? We've tried and tried and tried and tried different things, and yet nothing is getting that kind of traction. So I'm skeptical that there is one key that solves this that the projects can do. But I think if the network starts going, come to us, we're here and we are, chucking a load of money at LPs and farming and staking, and we're doing some really cool, funky adverts and everything for the younger generation to get them in, who are the majority of the crypto fans. If they did that, it's a different ball game, isn't it?
Yeah, I 100% agree. That's the missing piece. Just about everything else that Stellar does, whether it's green, cheap, fast, safe, all those things I love, but that is the missing piece. And if they're waking up to it, I think. Let's hope so. And it's from shows like this and voices like you and Glow, I think are finally starting to sink in a little bit. What I'd love to see Stellar do is reach out to someone like, my wife works for PricewaterhouseCoopers. They're a great consulting company with geniuses that are well connected throughout the world. $80,000, $100,000, you can hire them. What I've seen firsthand what they can do for folks. I mean, is it a guarantee? Nothing in marketing is a guarantee. If there was a secret formula for marketing, there wouldn't be 8 million different marketing companies out there. It's how you achieve that viral status or get that ad. I mean, it's a formula that is intangible, but we have to try. And a YouTube video here and there isn't going to do it. A inspiring video once every 2 years isn't going to cut it. But we'll see. We'll see what's happening in the next few months. I think that we'll see these marketing funds start getting deployed, and hopefully some of it's directed towards supporting internal projects, and hopefully some of it's directed towards rewarding liquidity provisions. Those to me, if you could reward liquidity provisions, I think that would just change things overnight. But these people that are hunting yields, they don't want 0.3%. They don't want a reward that might change every 24 hours. So what's TVL right now? Are we even at 50 million? I mean, we got to work on that.
Talking about marketing, you even see other chains like Zinfin Network. They just had their logo on the DC United jerseys and have all XDC all over the stadium, all over their promotional material. No effect on price. Seems like the market's just being driven down by Bitcoin and Tether, and seems like it's not just a Stellar thing. It's not just it's a major thing across all chains. But I think the best way to get the word out is for people who use Lumenswap to spread the word. Let people know. Let people show people the returns they're making every month. And I think once we get the single pair staking down, I think that's going to help, because people love to hold their rewards, and that'll drive down sell pressure from people getting their rewards and selling. There's a lot of things we can look at to do. But until the institution bucks come in, I think it's going to be a waiting game of waiting for people to come in and continuing to push out content and continuing to do what we've been doing.
Yeah. I think we both got very, 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 very valid points. I think that we've got to keep on keeping on, haven't we? We've got to keep innovating in our own way, even if it's like, a low amount of people that are kind of seeing our content. We've got to try and draw a few more people in, however that is. I mean, we've just been speaking to Down Drift about maybe starting to do some paid ads, but targeting them at certain hashtags of other networks, so that we're essentially trying to avoid the echo chamber and to go out, outside of Stellar, and to try that option and see if it works. I think, like you were saying there, about these big marketing houses, Jack. I think one of the big differences, if you have a product right out there in the real world, and you are trying to market that product, there is pretty much a formula that you can use offline, online, things that are proven over the years to work fairly well. Of course, you've got like guerrilla marketing and stuff you can do. But in crypto, I almost find it is like a puzzle, that you, to be able to get it right in crypto is not like, oh, look, I've made a new razor or something. We're going to, sell it in X amount of ways. It's like, you've got to get the people that are in crypto to fall in love and to get passionate about your network and about your project. And it is very much like each individual project has to find their own. Well, there is not a one size fits all in any marketing, but specifically not in crypto, is there?
Definitely not. And one thing we can do too as projects is we can get involved with some of these conferences, blockchain conferences all around the country, like, or these meetups that Glow was involved with. I bet, we probably converted a few people to Stellar, invest a few dollars in it. If we get out there and start talking to people on other chains, whether it's an NFT, NYC, whether it's something in Miami, whether it's something in Europe, if we go out there, we have a booth at least. I think that there's a lot of projects that would be willing to throw in a few marketing dollars in that respect. I know that I'd be willing to talk about it from JPEG or some of the other projects that I deal with, because we, like you say, we have to communicate to these folks outside of the echo chamber. And some of those real world events are a great opportunity potentially. I don't know, but these discussions that we're having now are important, and it's great to talk about how excellent everything is, but it's also important to talk about the challenges that we need to overcome. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of those conversations. I've seen a lot of great ones here recently. If people didn't see B Gold's interview, man, that was a high level conversation about Stellar. There's a lot of great discussions happening on this channel, so everyone in the community owes you guys a serious debt.
Well, I just think we like it. We Glow and I are just passionate, about the project, about Lumenswap, and we like talking about. I think everyone that kind of plugs in knows that we try to be as objective as possible. You know, I know Lumenswap's got its failings, right? And we try and not highlight them, but tell people that, you know, these are the things we're not really happy with. And I think that integrity goes out to people, and then people realize, you know, after a time, trust is built where you can come here and we talk about certain things, and people bring stuff up in the comments as well, which is fantastic with this software, and we talk about them. So, you know, they can come here, we can have these conversations, and maybe there are, you spoke earlier about seeds. Maybe there are some seeds from this show that will grow into great oak trees of the future, you know, where we can go, wow, you remember when we came across with this idea from, you know, B Golds, or when we had Jack on, and now look at, you know, this area or this area, it's really flourishing. I do firmly believe it's starting to happen. I do firmly believe that we are contributing towards the conversation across the network in small sprinkles. But I think it's starting to, how when people say when and how quick, I don't know, maybe 12 months, we're going to start to see, you know, it's some significant progress. But yeah, we just got to keep going. We've got to keep doing what we do, haven't we? You know, we've got to keep having the conversations, keep bringing the guests on, talking about some of the more difficult points as well as some of the easy stuff to talk about. And maybe we can find the seeds there and get them planted.
Some of the things we have talked about has come to fruition. We look at the Lucy auction. We were talking about that for months, and the team finally listened. Plus, with the DAO software coming in, we can start getting people's minds running. They can start thinking of ideas off of here and put in proposals, put their tokens up to make the proposals, to make to innovate these projects and make changes on all the projects that are going to be using it. Drift, Lumenswap, Nuna, Interstellar, anyone that's using the DAO software, people are going to be able to make these proposals. And I think that's just going to drive innovation, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun for your voice to actually be counted, and for you to be able to make a change to projects that you love.
And bring more utility to Lumenswap. I think that's one of the things that's going to be most exciting. But I really can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to seeing this roll out, and the details behind it, and what other projects will be taking advantage of it. I think it's going to be really good for the whole network, just like everything they've been putting out is really good for the whole network.
And I think we spoke about. Sorry. I thought you were finished there. Carry on, mate. Sorry.
I'm done. I'm good.
Okay. So I was going to say, yeah, with the unity we spoke about before as well, and I think that Lumenswap are kind of starting that, where you've got the 3 projects and themselves that are going to be the first ones to use this DAO. I mean, you know, you're obviously over at Nuna, and you know we've been speaking a lot from Drift's perspective, and I've been passing some stuff back to Vlad from Nuna. So we are now starting to work in a little group in a small way about how we can help each other, and you know the projects are all verified on Lumenswap, and you know these kind of just little tick boxes that are happening. And I think this can grow, and this can be the start, maybe with the DAO, of a little community of projects on Stellar, because this is another way that I think we can do this with regard to the marketing, is when people come to the front door, and we had a great conversation with Nola as well last week. When people come to the door of Stellar, then where do they have to go? Like, you know, what is the project, the best wallets to use? What's the best swap to use? Where can you get the yield for your farming? Where is the best NFT place for collectibles? Where's the games? And if you had like almost like a little map of, you know, which projects did what, and all of those projects were actually uplifting each other as well as concentrating on their own endeavors, I think that could be really useful for marketing outside. Because if someone comes to the door at Stellar at the minute, it's like, oh, well, like there's 90-something thousand assets on Stellar. Where do I find the 50? It's almost like you need a verified. It would be cool if you had like a verified list from Stellar, right? So you had this verified list from Stellar themselves to say these are projects that do such and such a thing in each of these categories. And then this is like, and it's only, like you say, what, 25 to 50 in this little like directory. And then those projects work together in some way to boost, to amplify the marketing message to other networks. I think there's some legs in that. I don't know the finer details, but I think there's definitely legs in something like that.
And I've seen that before. I've seen that on Avalanche and some of the other chains where they'll have like the top 25 gainers, the top 25%, and the top 25 NFT projects that are doing great that week or that day. It's definitely possible. A lot of these other chains are really doing it. And I know Stellar's focused on building out these smart contracts, building out their projects, but they also do have to put in a little bit to marketing to get the word out, because it's the projects themselves that are going to help the network.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's both angles. It's all very well as saying, you know, putting this into Stellar's court, but I think if we can be adult enough, that's what I say. I think it's mature enough. It's maturity to say, you know, the collective mind is going to be able to achieve way more than us as individuals. You know, if we can come together, and it has to be, I mean, at Drift, we've tried to have relationships with people with LP, and they ain't on the same page as us. And you know, it's all going to go tits up in a short distance in the future, because they've kind of got their angle and you got your angle, and they're not really wanting to mobilize a little bit from where they are, and we're not wanting to mobilize. And you think, well, maybe what we need to do is we need to find the projects that are singing exactly the same hymn. And I think Lumenswap have done that with these three, with the DAO, and they're going to build out from there. Right then, guys, before I get on to tonight's Lucy draw from Vlad, so thank you very much, Vlad, I just want to talk to you a little bit about one of Lumenswap's friends, one of the DAO projects, which is Drift. Drift Exchange has just changed their reward structure to include a holder's reward. A holder's reward is going to have 3 tiers to it. There's the first tier, which is fruitcake tier, the middle tier, which is sponge cake, right? And then the top tier, which is chocolate sponge. These ones are going to provide you with different amounts of rewards for different levels of holding. The bottom level, 300,000, middle level, 500,000, top level, plus 1 million. You can, if you've got 1 million Drift, get all 3 rewards. Fruitcake, sponge cake, chocolate cake. You get all 3 cakes, like a wedding cake. That's why it's called wedding cake rewards. Okay, if you just got 300,000 or 300,001, you get the bottom one. 500,000, 1 plus 2, 1 million, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you get the idea. That's changed. And also what we have done now is we have moved the LP rewards to be weekly. So that holding reward is monthly, calendar months. First, UTC, timing, 0001. So midnight, 1 minute. Yeah, on the first. To 23.59 on the last day of the month. Rewards for holding will be paid on the first of every month. So that is something for you to be aware of. A little video will be on the Drift Exchange threads today or tomorrow. And that started tonight at 1800. So the snapshot for that can be any time in that month period. You have to be holding those tokens, right? So any time from the first to the end of the month there. Another thing, the weekly LP rewards will be paid, as I've just paid them now. So they'll be paid on a Sunday. We were working on daily with the Drift XLM, but because we're doing weekly with the ISX and we're happy with the way that it's working with ISX, we've decided that both are going to be now weekly rewards. So if you're in those pools, don't fret if you don't receive anything on a day. Every Sunday evening UTC, between the 2 shows, you will be getting your rewards from Drift. Finally, we are introducing a new buyback and burn every single week. So with Drift Exchange, every single week, we will be buying back Drift tokens and we'll be adding them to the burns that we're already doing. So there's a lot to take in there, but Drift being one of the kind of partners of Lumenswap, it's important that you know that information already. So with that being said, let's get on with our Lucy draw and see who's the winner of Lucy tonight.
While you're pulling that up, I just want to say I love those changes for Drift. I think it's definitely going to make it more sustainable. People are going to hold it longer. And I think it's definitely going to change the game, just having holding rewards. Some people don't like the impermanent loss. So I think that's going to really make a big difference.
Yeah, exactly.
I bought more.
Exactly. Sorry, go ahead, Jack.
I was just saying I bought more. I love those. I love the new changes. Get in on that Extreme Crew, man. Get in on that. Trust me.
Extreme Crew Gangster is up for sale right now, the boss. So if you go to Lightman and search out the boss, or go to my Twitter account, you will see that the boss is up for sale. I think he finishes around about midnight my time. So Eastern Standard will be about 7. Am I right? Yeah, 7 p.m. he finishes. So if you want to be part of the Extreme Crew from Drift, there's only 7 members so far, Jack being one of them. Then yeah, jump onto that. That finishes in just a few hours' time. So here we go. This is for Lucy number 41. Good luck, everyone.
New one.
Batisyan, I think that's how we're saying it. I do apologize if I'm murdering your name, but well done. It's a brand new winner. So if you want to contact me on Twitter, Boring Crypto, and then or in the Lumenswap thread, either one, on Telegram, I will get that set up. What you need to do, if I just cancel this screen share, what you need to do in the meantime is you need to set up the trust line for that Lucy to be sent to you. Okay, so Vlad will need you to set up the trust line. The way that you're going to do that is, let's actually do it. Let's do it now live, so I can show you how to do that, because so many people are struggling with knowing how to set up trust lines for these Lucies. Okay, what we need to do is we don't want this one. We want, bear with me 1 second, peeps.
While you're hunting for that, I just wanted to say I love the Drift liquidity pools. ISX, Drift XLM. Those are 2 of the 3 pools I'm in. So I appreciate them.
Thank you, mate. We're trying to, believe it or not, we're trying to learn from Lumenswap. What you talked about earlier on, Lumenswap having these really cool things. And let's see, I'm just trying to find this one. I was talking at the same time. Yeah, these really cool things. And holding rewards has been one of the most popular things Lumenswap have done. And we said, well, we actually want to be doing that as well. Let's have a look. Can we finance it? Can we find the tokens for it? We've managed to do that. And we're starting it straight away, which is great. Okay, so Lucy 41. I'm going to screen share now. I do apologize about that. Sorry, I was ill prepared because I didn't have any plans to share that with you tonight.
It's a good prize, a really good prize.
Uh-huh.
I'm jealous.
Okay, so what you need to do, guys, is you need to navigate to Lumenswap's Lumenswap platform, lumenswap.io. Okay, then you need to launch the app. You need to go down to where it says NFT, and you need to click onto NFT. And now, when you've got to that point, I'm going to share the screen because that's where we're up to. Okay. Share. So we should see this now. I don't know why it's taking so long to load. Excuse me. Try and refresh it. Maybe it's because I'm doing a live video. Here we go. Okay, so if we come down, you should be able to see this. Lucy number 41 is like a maroon background. Here we go. We're clicking on to Lucy. So we've gone to Lumenswap.io, launched the app, clicked onto NFT, launched the app. We're now opening up the Lucy. So we've got my Lucy 41 there. And you can see over here, right, you can see asset Lucy 41. If you click onto this, it opens up the Lumenscan. Yeah, so this is the block explorer. Okay, so it opens up the block explorer, and you can see now here on the right hand side, you've got the issuer account. So we've got the asset code you would need to put in is Lucy 41, and then you would need to put this asset issuer, copy this asset issuer, and then that's how you would add the Lucy 41 trust line. So then as soon as Vlad is sending it over, yeah, he can just send it straight in and it's not going to bounce. So if you're concerned, you don't know how to add a Lucy as a trust line, that's how you do it. Okay, you just click onto that little part of it where it says Lucy 41. It opens it up, get the details you need, add that as a custom asset into your wallet, straight in. When Vlad sends it, it will just appear rather than it not working because you haven't added it. So, okay, there you go. I think that... if you need to watch this, by the way, it's going to be recorded. That's why I've just done it for you. So if you need to go back, you can re-watch this video and then you know how to do it. Sorry, I've had to delay that a little bit, but I wasn't prepared because I wasn't thinking we were doing one tonight. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for logging in. Thank you to Jack for his time this evening. I think that, you know, it's been another enlightening conversation. And Jack, you know, you bring a hell of a lot of value to Stella. Keep doing what you do. Guys, get in on what Jack's doing with regard to his mystery stuff. It's really, really super cool. Anything gamified, right, it floats my boat, and I'm really excited to see where you go with that. Nuna as well. We haven't mentioned Nuna hourly rewards. Jack, just tell us quickly about that before we get off.
Oh man, it's pretty. I mean, hourly rewards. So just those seem to be the hot thing right now. So there was a little hiccup the other day as far as, you know, updating some programming. It's to be expected with any of these new programs we're dealing with. But hop on the Discord, the Nuna Discord. Hop on the Nuna Telegram. We're there to answer any questions and tell you all about it. So I'm very excited about these quality LP provision rewards. You know, so look for things that are stable and projects that you actually believe in. Don't chase yields. But hourly rewards, you know, from a good project, I'll take it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So we've got Drift with the holders. We've got Nuna with the LP hourly. We've got weekly with Drift Exchange. We've got Lumenswaps monthly holders and LP rewards. So you've got loads to choose from now, guys. Absolutely tons and tons to choose from. And of course, there's going to be the good news next week, because next week could be when we are talking DAO. I'm being told that we're looking around 7 to 10 days out at the moment, if everything goes according to plan. So it could be by next Sunday, we could be having the DAO live. And if that is the case, we will be doing an educational Lumenswap show next week, where we're showing you how you can make proposals, how you can vote, the intricacies of how all of that works. Okay, I'm really looking forward to that show. If it's not next week, it will be the week after next. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much once again, Jack. And we'll all catch you next Sunday, same time, same place.
I'll be in the comments section.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.